Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care.
We're going. The noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, April 3rd, 2026. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil. Episode 427. A lot of episodes. We're preparing for our 5th anniversary coming up later this month. So I was doing a bunch of numbers. I'll just say this, Phil. At this time, next week, Friday's episode will be our 500th releasing of anything. Like interviews, episodes, drafts, fantasy stuff that we've done, State of the Sabres, Bills, whatever. It'll be number 500. How does that feel? Almost five. Let's like 100 episodes of anything per year we've done this. It's insane. I don't know. We're coming up. We'll hit it more, but what does number 500 mean to you?
Yeah, it's a lot. I feel like more than anything, it's just I don't know. There's a lot of things. A, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of episodes. But B, I think it's more in a weird way for the fans and for the people who continue to listen to us, because we wouldn't be anywhere near 500 releases or 5 years if we didn't have an audience base. And I know for a long time in year one, we were sitting at 10, 11, 12 listeners, and we were like, yay, we got somebody to listen. This is great. And it took a long time for it to really take off and kind of go where we are today. And looking back at that mentally, I can remember, but it's hard to think about that we were still pumping out episodes. I feel like the whole first year was close to like 10 to 15 downloads and listeners, and we stuck with it. And everyone said like it starts really slow and then it takes a while to build, and we've gotten to a pretty nice spot where we are. We obviously want to continue growing and everything, but I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that people are willing to listen to us, and we wouldn't be here or doing this if we were 5 years in and 500 episodes of whatever, and every single time we just had 10 people, probably wouldn't be doing this anymore, because we'd be like, all right, forget it. Like, it's just not catching on. It's not worth it. But luckily more people have come around and stuck around, and here we are still doing it.
Yeah, we'll go more into everything once we do what we're planning on doing for year 5. There'll be a surprise guest appearance by somebody. We're fine-tuning everything. But yeah, we say it probably, I think every time we talk about this, I say the same thing. We don't say it enough, but whether you listen to every episode, you catch the interviews, you comment on any post, if you'd like a post, you talk about us in public, whatever it might be, how little or big, we are very appreciative of everybody out there that has helped us get to where we are. Because like you said, if we were still getting the numbers we were getting a month or two in, I would be outside like trying to drain my swamp in the backyard right now instead of doing this. But we're still having, at least I'm still having fun doing this. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's basically a second job. Producer Pat kind of did the math that if each episode is like an hour long, which we know it's not, it goes well over an hour, we have been doing this for 20 straight days. That number's insane. I don't want to know the actual number because I'll feel really bad about myself, but we've almost been doing this for a full month if you add and that's just the recording time. That's not the stuff, that's not the articles, that's not prepping for the show, that's not doing all the Excel spreadsheets, that's not doing the fantasy game and all that other kind of stuff, the prepping for the interviews, contacting people for the interviews, you rewatching all the games for your breakdowns and the articles. It's a full-time job, unpaid. But like you said, we're where we are because of the people that helped get us here. So we'll thank everybody more, but thank you for allowing us to get closer and closer to year 5. If I drop dead, which I'm signing up for will, so hopefully by next Friday I'm still alive, then it's actually legal. But yeah, thank you everybody out there. We'll thank you more as we progress. But you can also help us out a little bit more. Help us pay the bills. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Look for time breakdowns in the description of the show. This past week, Phil's article came out on Tuesday breaking down the epic comeback from behind victory over the Saskatchewan Rush. Came out on Tuesday. It's still out there. We've got 96 articles on the website, Phil. 96.
Closing in on 100.
As we talk about the Sabres in a minute, I did find the part 1 and part 2. It came out in 2022, April of 2022. It's a 2-part series. I didn't read it yet, but if anybody wants to go back and see how I thought that was the team to break the drought, you can go read it. And 4 years later, whoo, we got there. Never wrong, just early. Interview Wednesday from a guy from Vancouver. Been trying to get him on the show for a while, personally in my own head. Haven't actually attempted it. 1 for 1 getting him on the show. Tino Farah came on, gave us some time talking about Vancouver. Great interview. That came out on Wednesday. Go listen to it. That was our 41st interview. I'm just knocking all the numbers here because I was doing all the totals. Power rankings and week 19 pick'em came out on Thursday. If you didn't get to participate, you can participate next week. And there's one more week after that. 2 more weeks of participating in the People's Picks. On today's episode, Buffalo versus Vancouver preview. Week 19 outlook. We got 3 questions for Ask the BSC, but we'll start with the Sabres. Tuesday versus the Islanders. They started another streak on a 2-game winning streak now. 4-3 win. Quinn, Tage, Krebs, and Bo with the empty netter. UPL 25-28 saves. Special teams actually helped them out this time. 2 for 4 on the power play. 2 for 3 on the penalty kill. Phil, I think it was last year or the year before. I can't remember. UPL was somebody that I was willing to send a pick with to get off this team because I was sick of him. In his last 10, and I know he's playing right now versus the Senators, it's still 0-0 with 5 minutes to go in the first period. He's 8-1-1, 922 save percentage, 1 shutout in his last 10. He has just become a revelation for this team. Like the goaltending between him, Lyon, and even Ellis, this team would not be where they are right now without consistency in net. And this team has lacked that for so many years. I know in our group chat today, we were kind of joking about some of the goaltenders and, Neuwirth got traded because he was winning too much during the tank years.
Always a good time.
But I think everything has just come together this season between finally getting consistent goaltending, finally getting the good defense in front of it, and getting the good forwards that score and get back on the back check. So I think this is a culmination of everything is just hitting at once instead of just one thing hitting at a specific time of a specific year.
Yeah, that's seems to be the recipe to make playoffs, is have a complete team that does everything decently well, not one section. And it just took, like you said, the 4 years ago, I don't know where you had them there, but, 1 year you had the offense, 1 year you had the defense, 1 year they had the goaltending, and then they put it all together. So I feel like every year that they had one of those, they were putting like the recipe in the pot, and then the next one. Then they put it all together into this season, and
They've just been stirring it all together.
Exactly, for years and years, stirring the stew. It is weird to, like, all the things that are coming out right now as they get very close to breaking the drought, going back and, like, reviewing everything. And there's some funny memes. There was I don't know if anybody out there saw it. I know you saw it because your brother posted it, but the Hangover look back, going through the pictures of what.
Oh, there's so many people that saw that one.
Yeah, that just going back through the 14 years of what has been, and my goodness, it's rough looking, but here we are. But it's a weird feeling thinking about breaking the drought, because I know with the Bills, it was the same thing. I feel like the Bills was, I don't know, it felt way different with the Bills. Maybe it was because of the style of getting in was that miracle play. So whereas the Sabres are just doing so well and they're going to get in on their own relatively early, hopefully, if they win this game. So I feel like it's a little bit of a different feeling, whereas the Bills was a little bit of a miracle that they got in that time.
Andy Dalton, the Tyler Boyd, I'll never forget it.
Yeah, exactly. And like, if they beat the Senators, you're not going to remember like, oh, that's the game they did it. You're just going to remember the season of that's the year they did it. But it's still a weird feeling to have 14 years of just awfulness. And again, we've seen, like, even recently we've gone back and there was the video of the Sabres fan yelling at the team for not getting one single goal
right behind the guy.
And that was this season, and you
It
and
was
I
game
even
one.
talking about it was game one.
Yeah.
And you and I even talking about like, oh, what should we do with the Sabres? They're horrible. Should we, cut it down to once a month, do an overview once every 2 weeks? Like,
They
it's
just needed a
still,
threat.
yeah, it's still so insane to like think that that was this season. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it was a year removed from that. Like, that was still December of this past year, and all of a sudden they've gone on this insane run, and it's something you just forget. That going back and watching that rant again from that fan was fantastic.
Yeah, I know they're playing right now, so if you're listening to this, you either know they officially broke the drought or they didn't. And I know they're going to break the drought. They need 2 points to break the drought, and they're even
In
if they
7
lose
games.
today, there's two other things that need to happen for them to still make it. But I didn't want to actually talk about it and like the memories of it until it's actually happened. I feel like that would be more powerful because I got so many things to say about them. Like it feels like we're in the movie Shawshank Redemption and he's crawling through the sewers. That's what it's been like for 14 years being a Sabres fan. Like somebody the other day in a Discord was like, yeah, it's similar to the Leafs. Like at least you're not a Leafs fan. What the Sabres have fans have had to endure is so much worse than, oh, you made the first round of the playoffs and you can't escape it. Like
What Leafs fans are enduring is what the Bills are enduring.
exactly.
Where
Like that's the better comparison is you
yes,
can't get over the hump.
but you're
That's
making
the Bills
playoffs.
fans there.
Yeah,
Like, have you gone into the longest drought of missing the playoffs in the history of the NHL? No. Then it's not the same. You
right.
haven't been through the same. You didn't go through 2 years of tanking. You didn't go to a year where they missed it by 1 point. You didn't go through a season where they missed the playoffs when they invited 24 teams. Like, they were trying to get you in and you still missed it. Like, we're not the same. Like, whatever that meme was, like, we're the same. We're not the same. It's completely different. But I want to talk more about that when they actually clinch it and they actually break the drought. But this is their first 100-point season since 2010. I was 18 at that point. Their Carrick got hurt. It didn't look good, but they didn't rule him out for the season. He's week to week, so I think that's much better than a month to month. It did not look like a good injury. His arm got twisted like a pretzel. Metza was back. He looked good. He was on the penalty kill, which was like the second time all season. He got some penalty kill time. UPL, that penalty shot save was insane. It looked like the save that he made on Saturday, where he just stayed with him the whole time. He was on the ground, but he stayed with him the whole time. Tage moving around on the power play. Who would have thought if you move around your most dangerous player, oh my God, it might work. He was low. He was on the inside, and that's where he ended up scoring in the middle of the net. The goal is against that UPL let in. None of them was on him. The one was off Power's foot. The other one was a scramble on 6-on-5, and the other was on a power play. Tuck, who was having a very bad game on Tuesday, he rebounded by that hustle play that made the move, goes behind the net, dumps it out to Peyton Krebs, who I was harping on Peyton Krebs too. Like, he's the fourth liner. He's playing the top line and making big time goals. Like, this is back-to-back games where he scored big time goals. But I went from a week ago sitting in this position going like, you still got this something in my stomach. But now that I think time has passed, they're back to their winning ways and they're 2 points away from breaking this drought. I'm feeling much better about their abilities to not just break this drought, but make an impact in the playoffs and win a series or two and carry that momentum to next year. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not even putting it in the universe, but like, it's so weird that, and I saw somebody else tweet it or Instagram or something like that. And I can't give you credit because I can't remember who it was, but I'm not taking credit for this, but I just saw it. It's such a weird season for the Sabres because it wasn't like it was a slow burn. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, they're on the up and up. They have a chance. It's just like one day they woke up and it was like, we're making playoffs. Like that's what it feels like. It's not like, okay, last year they missed it by 5 points. The year before that they missed it by 10. Like, it's a slow progression. It was just like, Kevin Adams is gone. We're a great hockey team. Like, that's what it is. That's what's insane about this season. That's what's going to be remembered by us. You fired a GM, you did very little, and you ended up making the playoffs. Like, I'm giddy, Phil. I'm giddy for the first time since I was like underage. It's so fun.
What do you think about, because you talked a lot about UPL. what do you think about him getting 3 in a row now? And this is the first time we've seen any kind of stretch with only one goalie. I know Lyon had a couple iffy games, but UPL's had
Yeah,
iffy
two bad
games
ones
in
in
the
a row.
past, and they've still gone back to Line and then UPL and Line UPL. Like we haven't seen a streak like this in a really long time. What are your thoughts on them kind of going with UPL as main guy? Do you think he's going to get it the rest of the way? Do you think this is what they're going to stick with heading into playoffs, or do you think it's just give Lyon a little break for whatever reason? He's a little bit older for sure. UPL is the younger of the two by far, so maybe it is just, hey, we'll give the older veteran goaltender a little bit of rest, and we'll give the young guy a little bit more that he can handle down the stretch. But what are your thoughts on them finally rolling with one goalie for a few games here?
Yeah, I really thought that this back and forth type of system was going to work. And I thought, roll with what's working into the playoffs because multiple people are like, you just got to roll with a hot hand. Like UPL, Lion, whoever it is, you got to roll with
Right.
the hot hand. And I was like, going back and forth to me seems better. We talked about it on the show, but Lion had two bad ones in a row. And it almost felt like Lindy Ruff was waiting for something to
To break.
happen to give him reason to have a number one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they have a clear number one because if UPL comes out here in the next two periods and just craps the bed, I think Lyon's the main guy again until he struggles. So it feels like the number is like two bad games in a row or iffy games in a row, and
Right.
then you ride with the hot hand. So if UPL struggles in this one, I wouldn't be shocked if you see Lyon on Saturday. But I'm okay with it because it's working. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It was broken when it was going back and forth, because Lyon was struggling a bit. They go with UPL. It's working. Keep riding them until it's broken. So I don't know what I feel like I want them to do in the playoffs anymore, but I'm fine with them riding the hot hand of UPL right now, especially with, Tampa's breathing right down your throat. You can still theoretically catch up to Carolina. So if he's giving you the best chance to win that night, keep riding him.
Yep. Yeah, I don't mind it. It's interesting to see, like you said, what it took to finally break that
Yeah.
every other, because it was a ridiculously long time that they, no
I
matter
think
what
it
was
was every
happening.
game since the Olympics, which was end of February, so a full month.
Yeah. And even when Lyon had the shutout, they still went
Yeah,
back to UPL, and UPL got the shutout. They went right back to Lyon. Like it just, no matter what anybody did positively, or even a few negative games, like you said, but it seems like it was the two negative in a row by Lyon. Like, all right, quick hook. Like we're going to ride the hot hand. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't mind it. And I do wonder if, I mean, they're going every other, so Lyon's workload isn't massive, but I don't know the last time he's been asked to be a number one on a team, and he is a little bit older, so I do wonder if he's starting to get a little burnt out, and maybe sitting or resting him a few extra games in a row will get him back to what he's been doing pretty much the whole season.
yeah, and period's almost over, so it'll be 0-0. Yep, giveaway by UPL. Just watching it on my screen just appear. Yeah, it looks like the first period's over, so it'll be 0-0 with two periods to go. We're on pace here, but they got a game Saturday in Washington, so we will talk about that game on the next episode. Maybe Monday is when we get to talk about the good drought being over, but I'm not mentioning it until it's actually done. And then Monday is the game we've all been waiting for at Tampa Bay. I might have to set my night for an hour beforehand to prep my body for what's going to happen. But we'll move on here. We'll go on to the NLL/Bandits portion of this show. We got the news, the worst kept secret for the people that pay attention to the league. I
I
saw
feel like there's a lot of
the
those in the NLL.
the comment section in Philly and on the NLL Facebook page and Instagram. There were a lot of people that were very blindsided by this. So to me, that shows us all how much more room there is for fan intelligence. And that's not me making a shot. The growth for the fan knowledge, I guess is the better way to phrase it, across the NLL. And I know there's some people out there that don't like the independent people, that don't like podcasts, that don't like the people that aren't associated with the newspapers or the channel newses or any of that kind of stuff. But the people that are in the know are the ones that are independent. Adam Levy, independent, he's in the know. Dawson Nielsen, part of Loose Mesh, in the know. Like, according to him, some of the rumored cities are Trent, New Jersey, Laval, Quebec, Edmonton, Alberta, and I just saw Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania as well. I think Trenton and Lehigh Valley are the number 2 options, 1 and 2 options right now is what the reported rumor is right now. But those are independent people. So if you want to get the news about the NLL right now, the best place to do it is those people for the independent. I'm not saying that the league doesn't have great people as well, like Jake Elliott and Pat Gregoire and Teddy Jenner, who are associated with the league, but they can only spread their knowledge so far because they are with the league. There's nothing wrong with supporting and listening and believing to the independent people. Like, there's so many people that when they saw the news about, Ryan Benesh getting cut, they were like, I'm going to wait for the league and I'm going to wait for the Bandits to officially announce it until I believe it. I was like, okay, that's fine if that's the way you believe it, but is it because it's the NLL and it's the independent? I know I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry. Is it because of the independent people out there that you don't trust them through the NLL? Is this just like a common theme that even Adam Schefter you don't trust? You just wait till the team to put it out? And if that's the case, that's fine. It's just consistency. So it's a long way of saying, like, if Pat Gregoire says something, if Teddy Jenner says something, if Dawson Nielsen, if Adam Levy, if somebody puts it out there that are a reputable source, I'm not saying believe everybody, but believe the people that have a track record of putting out reliable information, I think that's the best way to grow and be, because everybody wants this league to be more transparent. Like, that's what we hear all the time. Be more transparent. Give us more information. There's now so many resources in the NLL, whether you're independent or you work for the league, that can put out and do put out that information before having to rely on this. So if we want our league to grow, the fan base has to be able to start trusting those in the know to believe what is being reported. Because if you did, you would have listened to this 2 years ago that Philly was in trouble. But that transitions into our first BSC question that we've got 3 of them today. And I wrote one of them in because I asked it on the last show and I got my answer to it. With Philly ceasing operations, and this is a 2-part question. With Philly ceasing operations, what do you see as the most likely outcome for next year? Is it completely folding? Is it relocating within the Philly area like Lehigh Valley or Trenton? Or is it completely moving elsewhere, like, Laval or Edmonton or Minnesota or whatever? And then secondly, do you see anybody that the Bandits would want to target off that team for one reason or another?
I mean, as far as the first part, I don't think I don't think they'll fold. I think the league's learned
I think
a lot.
Teddy Jenner said that they're not folding, and he capitalized fold. So,
I do think the league has learned a lot. And Frood, we mentioned this not on the podcast, but you and I were talking about it a little bit, that he stepped into a pretty rough situation with the league and some of the expansion teams, and under his tenure, in a way, he's had to deal with a lot of relocations and folding teams and a lot of stuff. But
he's lucky he's bald, or he would be already.
Right, like he wasn't the one
so many bad
who created all of this. So he's just put in a very tough position. I know his name's on a lot of this, and it's kind of just unfortunate because it wasn't him who brought this upon it. He's trying to patch and repair and fix what others have left him. So I do think he's learned a lot, even in the few relocations they've had and the few, with Panther City folding, and how to handle those situations as best as he can. And like you said, I don't think they'll fold. I do think relocating would be the main option. I hope, for the league's sake, because I heard something, I think it was just not even a rumor, I'm trying to think of, like hypothetical, that's the word I was looking for, that they should just be like an all-Canadian league and move north and kind of stuff like that. And I really hope that stays away. I think in order to have the league grow, you need to be in the States. You need to be just spreading the game all over the place, not just Canada. So I hope if there is a relocation, like Edmonton would be great, but I would prefer to keep them, like you said, a local relocation and keep them in the States and keep them in the Northeast, where I sent you the map the other day of where all the teams are. It's pretty spread out, other than the Northeast massive clump of teams that are all on top of each other, with Buffalo,
Then you
Rochester.
got Georgia in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, then you got Georgia in the middle of nowhere. You got Halifax way over. And then there's a few others that are kind of spread out throughout. But if Philly does relocate, I hope that they can stay in the general area and not have to do a massive relocation elsewhere.
Yeah, I think the best outcome is them finding a spot near the city for them to keep the team,
Right.
because Philly's got a rich history of lacrosse. To me, this is a situation, we were having this conversation in a Discord earlier today. It's not just about finding a location for a team. You need to find the right ownership that is willing to invest and lose some money in the meantime, and do what they need to do to grow this sport. Because you could have the best fan base, like Buffalo. If they didn't have Scott Loeffler in charge, if they didn't have Dan Verstein, if they didn't have the leadership group they had, you could be winning championships with 7,000 fans in the seats. Like, that's a realistic possibility. You need the right ownership and leadership group within the organization. So to me, as long as they find the right ownership and leadership group for Philly, I think that's the best place to put them. Second option is kind of relocating them. And I would prefer them to stay in the States, just based on the makeup of that team. You got Michael Sowers and Brendan O'Neill and so on and so forth, of all American-born type of players. And this isn't America versus Canada type of thing, whatever. I know a bunch of people debate that kind of crap. I like the 7-7 makeup right now,
Right.
is because you got 7 in Canada, you got 7 in the States. I like that type of makeup. I know that there's more places in Canada to build this sport, because box lacrosse is a Canadian sport first. But I think America has that base of willingness to accept and be a fan of box lacrosse. So I think number one is trying to keep them local to Philly. And I loved what Brett Fruit said on OTCB a couple months ago at this point. Middle tier cities. Like, you don't have to be in Philly. You don't
Right.
have to be in Denver. You don't have to be in those big cities. Look at Halifax. They're crushing it out there. Saskatchewan, yeah, they're growing. Like, Buffalo's like a middle tier city as well. I know they're a bigger city compared to some of the ones in.
But how often do we get claimed in the NFL
Right.
that we're a small market team?
Exactly.
Just
Like,
shoved down our throats.
find a middle tier market in Pennsylvania, like Lehigh Valley, like Trenton in New Jersey, something like that. But again, it goes back to finding the right leadership and ownership group that's willing to invest. But I think when you're looking at players from Philly that Buffalo might want to target, I think obviously the names are Nick Damoud, obviously it's Lucas Nielsen, and so on and so forth. But I would be shocked, again, floored. I said this last time with Nick Wiesen at work. I would be floored if Philly, the current team, is not somewhere in this league. I believe Teddy Jenner. I know where he's got sources of himself, and he's in the know. He's one of those people that you follow to get this information. I would be shocked if that group is not together somewhere, but it's very tough to figure out, unless we know where they're playing. Some of these players might not be able to go live in Edmonton. Some of these players might not be able to go if they go to like Nashville and so on and so forth. So it's tough to pick out players that might not be able to do it for trades. It's also tough to figure out with new ownership. Okay, who's not a core piece in that new ownership? Is Paul Day even a part of this organization anymore? Is Ian Rubel, Tracy Koleski? So, I mean, the obvious names are, when you're looking at it because of Matt Vince's age, Deacon Knott and Nick Damoud. I think those are the number 2 options. Corbeil, Jackson, Messenger, Patton are all UFAs, so you're not even looking at them. You can get them in free agency. You got Armstrong, Burkhoff, Dominy, and so on and so forth that still need new deals. And there's only a handful of guys that are currently under contract. So I don't know if there's a specific player I'm targeting, but if it is, I still love your trade idea from, before the trade deadline of Nick Damoud. I think Shoganosh is the future here, but based on the players you have, and Steve Perillo, who's winding down, Dane and Josh are in their middle 30s. Like, Ian McKay is into his 30s now. Your core pieces are in their primes right now. You cannot wait and rely on an 18, 19-year-old goalie to work through his struggles because he's not ready in the league. You need to find that transition plan after or I keep trying to say Nick Rose, after Matt Vince, but before Shaganash is ready to go. So you need that transition plan. And I think Nick Demood is in a perfect position for that. So to me, he's my number one clear favorite target off that team, regardless of folding, regardless of trade, whatever it is. If I had to pick a piece off that team, it would be Nick Demood.
Yeah, I was listening to OTCB After Dark the other day, and they were mentioning, talking about Rochester and what they can do.
Get out of here, Rochester.
In the future. And one of the things they brought up was maybe bringing in Damoud to help their goaltending situation next year and in the future. And I've been on that bandwagon for a long time for the Bandits. I think
Since Panther City.
Yeah, long time. I've liked Damoud. Matt Vince, the way he's playing,
he's playing until he's 50.
Right. Even if the others, if this is their last year, like a Dawson and a Buchanan, because they kind of barely came back, even if it's their last years, if Vince could come back again, that would be great. And honestly, just thinking about the offseason, I know I'm getting way too far ahead of myself, but this is part of it. I was thinking of the Bandits roster and what it looks like, even for the draft coming up and how big it is and all these things. And if you really look at their roster outside of Vince retiring, even with the other people like a Buchanan, like a Dawson possibly retiring, they're already at a roster crunch again. Like if you look at the team, there's really not that much room for any new additions outside of goaltending. So even if some of these players would be exciting or interesting to bring in, there's a chance, I don't know how big of a chance, but there's a chance Joey Rez comes back. We'll see if he doesn't retire. Maybe he just stays in his hometown and they want him back to be a big part of that right side and take over that Buchanan role. So if that happens, that's one less forward. And then you have Tyson trying to break in on the left side, or you have these draft picks. I don't know if they're going to go forward on draft picks. You already have way too many defensemen. So if Dawson takes off, you got Dooley to step in, you got other defensemen to step in. So thinking about their roster as a whole, there really isn't a lot of space in the future, and the big glaring potential space would be in net for all the reasons you said. Like, you really don't have time to waste, and I do think Shagnosh is going to be great. I mean, we saw I don't know if everybody did, but if you saw the trade that was made over the summer to get him on a team, it was like, I don't know, 600 first, 600 seconds. It was so many picks to get him. Yeah, it was insane. And
6-inch subs.
Yeah. And I think that kind of tells you without telling you, because it's hard to know where he is. We don't really watch his games. We can't see him. So it's hard to know where he is in his development or how good he is other than word of mouth. But a trade like that, I think, shows you how important he is to a team and what he could mean to a team. So, but the problem is, I think he is still years away from being that for the Bandits. So you need a stopgap in between. I think Damoud would be incredible, especially with his defense in front of him, finally not getting shelled out for 60 shots a game. We'll see what he does with a little bit stronger defense and a system in front of him. But I think he'd be the big one. And Knott's also looked really good for a younger goalie as well. I think that's one, like, if I'm Philly / whoever in the future, and I'm choosing between Damoud and Knott, is assuming Knott continues the rest of the season looking this good, I think I would turn the keys over to him and try to ship out Damoud with Knott being a little bit younger.
Yeah, I think you would get more for Nick Damoud anyways, just because I don't know how his value is around the league, but to me and you, it's very, very high. But I don't want to hear anybody clap back and just go, Shaganash can do it because Christian Del Bianco does it. You can't compare one of the greatest to ever do it to an 18-year-old kid. It ain't fair. I'm not going to listen to it. He is the exception, not the rule. Base it off. Goalies usually wait.
Base it off Chiliano. Base it off Hill. Yeah. Base it off Higgins. Like, all these guys are, close to 30, and they're just breaking in now. Like, that's what you're a little bit is more usual or typical.
Yeah. Sorry. And he's got 10 years until he's close to that. Like, again, me and Phil are very high on him. Like, everything we're seeing, he's supposed to be this next great goaltender. And I do think that he's the heir apparent to Matt Vince. But Matt Vince is 43. And as much as I joke, I don't know if he can play till he's 50 and allow Shaganash to get to 25, which is stupid thinking about. but I think they need a transition plan. And I think that's the one thing that I don't think that, unless he's got something up his bag of tricks, Steve Dietrich has planned for just yet. He's got the goalies in the system of players that he really likes in Evans, C, and Shaganash, but they're not guys that you can step in and put in right away and still
Right.
be a title contending team. I don't even know if you'd be a playoff title. You need an elite goaltender to win an NLL championship in this league. Stats prove it. And as much as we're high on them, I still think you need a transition plan after Mad Vince is done in 7 years. So we'll move on to the next question. I'm going to keep putting that in the universe. Next question is, what are the playoff scenarios? And I always want these questions, like not just this question. I want any questions to be asked. We say, ask us anything. So I tried my best to answer this question. You see the numbers I put on in the docket there, Phil. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. Nobody knows. There are still so many things up in the air. Like, nobody knows who's going to be the number 1 seed all through 8. Like, Vancouver, Saskatchewan, and Colorado are the only ones that locked it up. There's still like multiple teams, like 3 or 4 teams that have 4 games left to go this season. It's so tough right now. But if I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat, I'm going to look at my Magic 8 ball and try to come up with ideas here. I think Buffalo's chances of finishing are probably 3rd to 6th. I think the 3rd seed, 4th seed, 5th seed, and 6th seed, right around that area, is where I think they're going to end up finishing. Just based on, even if you lose to Vancouver, you got Rochester and Oshawa coming up. I think they're probably going to finish around 10 and 8, like right around there, maybe 11 and 7, right around that area. And I think that's good for anywhere between the 3rd and the 6th seed. So I think you got a date with maybe Georgia. You got a date with Toronto. You got a date with Ottawa. So I think those are the possibilities. I can't envision a way where you have a first round matchup with Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Colorado. I think those are pretty much eliminated. I don't see how you would face Las Vegas unless they move up and Buffalo's the 3rd seed. So I'm looking at like Georgia, Toronto, Ottawa, if San Diego somehow moves up there. But I think if you're looking at playoff scenarios for just Buffalo, Georgia, Toronto, and Ottawa are probably my top 3 options of what Buffalo would probably face in the first round of the playoffs.
I was thinking about this earlier. So in general, out of mainly, like, I think right now I see Buffalo and Georgia and Buffalo and Toronto most likely finishing as the first round matchup. Out of those, we'll say Buffalo's able to sneak into the 4 spot, but it means you're playing Georgia, who's in the 5th seed. Would would you prefer them to push? Like, if again, I'll give you 2 scenarios. Sorry, we'll do home game against Georgia.
I didn't like the first one.
Yeah, home game against Georgia or away game against Toronto. We'll put those as the 2 scenarios. Like, we'll say they can push all the way up to 4th and Georgia drops a little bit, or the other scenario works out where Buffalo is away at Toronto instead of a home game. Would you prefer the home game, but you have to play Toronto or Georgia, who I think plays Buffalo very well and is scary with Brett Dobson, or an away game, but you play Toronto, who Buffalo's played really well, but you haven't seen Nick Rose yet this season against Buffalo?
I was letting you finish the question. It's 100%, 150, 1,000% Toronto. Like, I do not want anything to do with Brett Dobson. I don't want anything. And I understand I'm going to hear a bunch of people saying, well, they won 15-11 against Georgia already. That was game 1 when they had, 6 rookies in the lineup and they didn't figure out what their offense was. And Lyle Thompson was still hurt and Brett Dobson wasn't playing at the level that he's playing right now. I want no bit of pieces of Georgia in a one and done type of scenario. Buffalo has Toronto's. This isn't me being cocky. If you've listened to this show ever, I used to be a Toronto lover. Like, I still love Challen Rogers. Sam English is becoming my next love of Challen Rogers getting replaced. But Buffalo just seems to know how to play Toronto and beat them, even in their own home barn. It's no shot at Toronto. I think they're a very good team. I think they're excelling past what I thought they would be this year. But they would be by far and away the number 1. Even if the Buffalo's got to be on the road the rest of the playoffs, it's Toronto millions of %. Like, if I can sign up right now and that's the first round matchup, I'm done. Like, I would rather have that matchup locked in than Buffalo somehow being able to get up to the number 1 seed and facing Vegas. Because that's like, if you were giving me Buffalo versus Toronto on the road in round 1 or the field, give me round 1 of Toronto, because at least I know that they have history against Toronto and being able to beat them.
Yeah, I was in the same place. I do not want Georgia in round 1, even if it means it's a home
We've
game. I
seen
know
it.
the
It was scary.
players love the home game. Yeah, it's very, very scary. I don't need Josh Byrne freaking us out in overtime again. On the way to a championship, sure, but I don't need Dobson getting revenge against Buffalo and just absolutely shutting them down. And they've had too many round 1 really low scoring scary games
Back-to-back years.
yeah, where I don't need another round of it. So yeah, hopefully Buffalo does not match up against Georgia in round 1. No, thank
Actually,
you.
I think it was back-to-back-to-back, because didn't they face Albany? Oh, that was the year they lost, I believe. Albany, when they won like 10-5, where they had Benesh and Reziteritz and O'Connor, and we were like, who's the number 1 team you don't want to face in round 1? And
Yes.
we all said Albany, and then it ended up being Albany. I think that was 4 years ago at this point. There's too many years doing this, Phil. Last question here, but see, I think we answered your question enough. Maybe we did more hypotheticals than you were looking for, but there's still too many games. Is scoring down in the NLL? And this person that asked it was me. I asked it last week, and I kind of answered it on the show, kind of. The answer is yes, and it's by a lot. And we started this season saying, like, goal scoring's down across the league, and then it kind of came back to the mean, but it's not anywhere close to, I guess it is, but it's still more than a goal below what we were looking at last year. Like 2 years ago, each game averaged 23.01 goals. Last year was 23.18. This year, it's down at 21.71. With 21 games to go, Phil, they need to combine, each game needs to combine 31 goals just to hit last year's number. So it got me thinking of why I proposed this in the Discord channels, and I think a lot of it is there's been so many close, low-scoring games this year. There hasn't been a ton of just blowouts where teams are winning, like, besides Buffalo versus Colorado. Buffalo hasn't really been involved in a blowout. You're not seeing the blowouts that Vegas was allowing all the time last year. So I went through like the goalies. Like, okay, who is having a worse or better year than last year? Phil, 10 out of the 14 teams have a lower goals against average this year than they did last year. The 4 teams that don't is Ottawa, by less than 1/10 of a point. You got Oshawa, who's less than half of a goal. You got Calgary, who's less than a half a goal. Rochester's the only one that really fell off of the earth here. They're allowing 13 a game. Last year was 11.61. So even the teams that are allowing more goals than last year, it's not by much. You're looking at the goalies. Dobson's having an unbelievable season. Ward's nearly a goal a game less. CDB is worse this year than last year, but last year was a 6-game sample size. Chiliano's having the same season. Nick Damoud's goals against is lower. O'Riggs is better. You got Nick Rose's is better. Warren Hill. So I even looked at like goals or the save percentage. There's 3 goalies right now that are mainstays that are having worse than last year. And it's Higgins down by 1. Jameson down by 1. Walsh down by 1. Like even the backups are having insane seasons. So I think when you're looking at it, I think a lot of it has to do with the goaltending and the defense in front of them, is that you're not having these big time goals. You're not seeing like the explosions. You're not seeing them run up the score on teams. So I think that contributing to, the goalies having unbelievable seasons and you getting consistent play out of Dobson and Chiliano again and O'Rig and Hill, the goalies that you could kind of had balloon numbers against last year, you're getting consistent play from all those goaltenders. So I think that's a big reason. It's just it's the season of the goaltenders. You and OTCB hit it on the head in the preseason predictions.
I think it's also, now this isn't, it's a lot to hang on a couple teams. But Buffalo and Halifax were your top 2 goal-scoring teams last year, and it was by quite a bit for both of them, 242 and 239. And both have dropped off the map this year as far as offense goes. Even Buffalo, they're winning now, but they're still winning low-scoring games. They're nowhere near their 14-goal average a game from last year. So far, Halifax in 15 games at 153, and last year they're at 239. That's a monster difference. Even if they finish at 180, you're looking at a 60 goal difference-ish right there. And then for Buffalo, right now they're at 164 with 3 games to go. So you figure, again, they're only averaging about 11 goals a game, so you get up to 95, like 195, and last year they're at 242. So that's another 40 goal difference from two teams. So that's almost 100 goals that you're missing from two of the best offenses that this year, no offense to both those teams, their offenses kind of fell really flat in comparison. It wasn't a little bit of a drop off. It looks like, I mean, Buffalo, we all know what happened to their offense. They're starting to figure it out, but even now they're not putting up big numbers, and Halifax just had a little bit of a rough season where they weren't putting up big numbers. So goaltenders on top of it, and then your best scoring teams have been really limited this year. Yes, other teams step up, like a Las Vegas, I'm sure last year, and compared to this year, I'm sure they're up quite a bit, but missing two of your top scoring teams, taking that big of a hit, I think also affects it quite a bit.
Yeah, last year you had 4 teams averaging over 12 goals a game, 2 of them over 13. This year you have just 2 teams over 12 in Vegas and Rochester. Everybody else is 12 and below. So, yeah, goal scoring's down across the league, and it started that way, and it's going to finish that way. We'll move on here, preview time, and we're not going to dive into it too much because you can listen to that interview with Tino Farah talking more about Vancouver, and you can, this is the second time they faced them this year, and the 5th time in the last 2 years. So Buffalo's coming in 9-6, Warriors leading the league at 11-4. Buffalo can clinch a playoff spot by beating Vancouver and Rochester losing to Halifax. So you're rooting for Halifax and you're rooting for Buffalo to clinch a spot. Goals for, Vancouver's 4th in the league, Buffalo's 7th. Goals against, Buffalo's 7th, Vancouver's 2nd. Power play. Both teams are near the top. Buffalo's 1st. Vancouver's tied for 4th. Penalty kill, they both excel. Vancouver's number 1, Buffalo's 3. Shots for, both of them are lower. Buffalo's 10th. Vancouver's 14th, and shots against, both of them do not give up a ton of shots. Buffalo gives up the 3rd fewest, Vancouver 6th fewest. And when we had Tino Farah on, I asked him, I was like, okay, looking into the playoffs here, Vancouver has the least amount of shots on net per game, but they have the highest shooting percentage according to Grant Parra. And this is what he had to say about the quality of shots.
It's massive. And if you've heard any Kurt Malowski post-game interview after a loss specifically, almost always the first question that he'll get is like, just tell us your thoughts on the game. And his first answer, or if not his first, like his first 3 answers, he talks about the amount of shots that they missed the net, right? So it's very obviously a talking point for them consistently at practice and at whatever morning shoot-arounds before games. Like, it doesn't really matter. So I think you would probably see that trend throughout a Kurt Malowski team in general, even go back to his time in Calgary. He is a very methodical coach. Like, nothing that he says is without reason. No drill that he sets in place or any of his coaching staff sets in place doesn't have a purpose. And it's so clear to see that shot total doesn't necessarily matter the most. It's as long as they're hitting their shots that's going to be the biggest factor for them.
So to me, that likely means loose ball opportunities are going to be slim to none. So when the ball is on the ground, Buffalo's defense has to capture those and do not give Vancouver a second chance, because they're one of the best shooting teams in the entire league. And while they might not get as many shots on net, you're not going to see this team put up 55, 60 shots on net. The 45 to 50 that they do get, they're nearly all going to be on net, and they're all going to be quality chances. So you got to be able to limit that if you're Buffalo's defense.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see, again, last time we have opposite opinions with the Bandits organization about the last time these two teams played, but
they ended up being right, but doesn't mean we were wrong.
Right.
Just saying.
In that game.
In that game.
Yes. But Buffalo to me is a very different team. Vancouver's been steady all season. I think even in that game, they were very steady. They looked very similar to what they do now. Buffalo to me has changed quite a bit, especially on the defensive side of things. And the defense didn't do horrible last game. It was keeping them in it for the most part.
I think this was like one of the first transitions into this style of defense we're seeing now.
Yes, and I think even when we watched that game, we're like, yes, 12 isn't a great number, but they played pretty well on defense, and we really didn't mind what they did on defense. And Vince looked okay. Like, I do remember going back and thinking about that game and like the defense wasn't the problem and wasn't the reason they lost. They actually did okay. And now you see that they've really cleaned it up and they just held Saskatchewan, to 7 goals. They held San Diego to 8 goals, and they've done a really nice job recently. And Vince is playing out of his mind, but I'm very interested to see how Buffalo's defense handles the structure and the style of a Vancouver offense. Can they do what they did against Saskatchewan and pretty much shut everybody down outside of transition? Or that's another big thing to look for in this game is the transition, but or is it going to be more of what we saw last time where even though the defense played well, Vancouver was still able to put up a decent number?
Yeah, and you're seeing the shot totals. Last time Buffalo faced Vancouver, they only put up 42, but they scored 12 of those 42. Like, their shooting percentage is ungodly right now. And you're looking at last game, and that was the only loss in their last 7 was Vancouver, 12-10. And while the score might look a lot closer, to me and Phil, it wasn't that close of a game. Besides that 6-goal run in 4 minutes and 14 seconds in the second quarter there, that took that lead into halftime, that offense was not good. Like, this was another game where we were worried about Buffalo's offense, and Byrne kind of came on with the five points. Smith had 5 points. Bucky had 3 goals, but Scanlon only had 5 shots on net. McKay kind of ran out the back door, and we were expecting him to play more out the front door. And Nanticoke only had 1 goal. So I'm looking forward to Buffalo's offense turning it on. But before we look at Buffalo's offense, we're looking at the defense here. And it's, I know you got a question here, but I'll go through this. Like, Whitty versus McCannell. Like, that is a big talking point. I would expect McCannell in this one because he's a bigger body defenseman going against a big bodied forward group in Vancouver that only plays 6 guys out the front door. You got to control ball to 6. Like, Dixon, 2 or fewer goals. You can't allow him to pop off for 4 again. You need to limit King to 4 points. You cannot let Adam Charlambides, who loves to get under people's skin, bait them because they are one of the better power play teams in this league. You allowed 12 last time. How does Vince adjust to that, and how does his play style that was different last time they faced Vancouver adapt to this team here? Like, you got to get out to hands because this is a very good shooting team, but that's my thoughts on the defense, and I know you got a question here.
Yeah. Before we get to the question, I like McCannell in general over Whitty right now. I think he's just played steadier.
It's more consistent. It's not so many ups and flows.
Yes, like Whitty has great games, then he has pretty rough games, whereas McCannell just seems to be out there, do his thing, and he's good. He just, very steady. I like him out there. I hope moving forward it's a little bit more McCannell, a little less Whitty, depending on injuries. But I'd like him more at this point. I do still like Whitty. I think he still has a good role on this team. He's still a good depth piece, but I've come to favor McCannell in general. But now that the team outside of Farrell is healthy, to you, and I'm not even going to ask what the Bandits are going to do because nobody knows what the Bandits are going to do. I don't think they know what they're going to do until the day of the game, if not right before face-off. But with what would you do moving forward as your roster and into playoffs? Like, what would you want your actual starting roster for the Bandits to look like?
So I know I said it on Monday's show, but I said these last 3 games, you need to fine-tune the offense and start the 7 forwards that you're planning on doing. So that's my plan here. When Farrell is back, Hendricks and Whitty are my healthy scratches. If Farrell's still hurt for an extended period of time, I'm calling Dooley up. I'm putting Farrell on the IR, and he's in. So regardless of whether Farrell is healthy or not, Whitty and Hendricks are my 2 healthy scratches. And I think it's important to have a Whitty as a healthy scratch because you know what you're going to get if you put him in the lineup.
Right. But
his season so far has been too much of a roller coaster. I need the more consistency, and that's why I would put Dooley in there, especially because he's a righty. It splits it up a little bit better for people that love that. And the last time we saw Dooley was his best game as his pro career. So that would be my decisions moving forward. Is Hendricks and Whitty would be my healthy scratches regardless, and Dooley would be in if Farrell is not healthy.
I know we have to still talk about the Bandits offense versus their defense, but the biggest thing to me moving forward is McKay full-time offense.
Yes,
like you already mentioned. In the last game that these teams played, it was McKay out the back door. And honestly, when we a while ago, which is funny.
Don't listen to those, Phil. We never said it.
I've completely switched now. Early in the season, he was struggling as a full-time offense. He just looked like he was in his own head. He just wasn't playing fluid. And then they put him to part-time defense, part-time offense, and he looked much better. He looked like his offensive shifts. He looked more relaxed. He looked more engaged. He just looked like a better player. Now I need that gone. We'll say he's fixed his yips. He's good. You just put him on offense. The left side is just, they don't have enough solid goal scorers on the left side to have McKay split shifting and have him on defense. If you want him 30% on defense, 20% on defense, that's fine, but he's got to be mainly an offensive guy at this point. They need his production to be full-time on the offense.
Yeah, they don't have enough depth scoring on that side to afford to lose Ian McKay shifts to the back door. We never said anything about him playing in transition this year or last year when we said it was stupid for him to play forward. We never said that. Don't go back and listen. Don't fact check us. We're like politicians, Phil. Don't fact check us. We never said that. What videotape? We don't have that. We'll move on to defense in transition for Vancouver. Like, they're littered with Hall of Famers. When I was talking to Tino Farrow, I'm like, how do you even decide? Like, when I was picking questions, I was like, I don't even know who to ask about because they're all electric. Like, half the defense back there is going to be future Hall of Famers whenever they get around to start voting and putting people in the Hall of Fame again, NLL. To me, I need to see those 7 forwards I need to see those 7 forwards. Like, I need McKay up there full time. I need Hendricks back to the bench, and I need those 7 forwards to gel more. Like, regardless of what it looks like, I need those 7 to get playing time together. Ian McKay needs to be the full time O. Like, Rezateris, 7 shots last week, but that took shots away from Nanticoke, who I think he needs to score early. You need to get Byrne to the net. You need Scanlon and Byrne, that two-man game. You need to get Kyle Buchanan opposite side and scoring those goals over there. Maybe a Joey Rezateris opposite side goal again. Like, you need to get Christian Del Bianco a little bit uneasy off his line. It's not going to be easy. Like, I'm not trying to sugarcoat this. Christian Del Bianco could go in there and shut Buffalo's offense down for 5 goals. It could happen. Or Buffalo and Ian McKay has been able to expose Christian Del Bianco before, and that's another reason why I need him out the front door the whole time this game. I think Buffalo, and I know you got another question here. I know I need to see those 7 forwards, though. Like, that's the biggest key to this game is I need to see those 7 that you're going to have moving forward.
Yeah, the last few games before I ask my question, they've been at 9 goals against in overtime, 9, 10, 7, 13 against Toronto, 7, and 8. So for the most part,
that's been the whole season.
10 and under. Yes, that's also very true. So just this goes into the question, what does the offense have to make us feel good about, like, what score do they have to get to make us feel good about the offense, or do they just have to look very similar to they did against the Rush game where we thought the offense looked good, but Frank Giuliano was playing also out of his mind, matching Matt Vince, and just every time they had a great opportunity, he was there to shut them right down.
Yeah, because it's Christian. Listen to the interview because I know Tino's going to pass it along to him and Tyler. I loved my last question. I thought it was hilarious. I'm not going to tease it here. You got to go listen to it. Because it's Christian, it's weird to say that I don't care what their goal total ends up being. I would take a 7-goal performance if we get the type of offense that we got last week. And it's weird to say that because if you score 7, you're probably not going to win this game. But because you beat Saskatchewan twice, you get that ability to drop one. I know I got the quest of 9. They already reached it, blah, 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 blah. But as long as the offense is gelling and it's looking really good and Christian's just bailing them out over and over and having another insane Christian type of game, it's less about the goals and it's more about how it looks on my eyeballs. If it's looking good, they can score 7. I don't care. You will not hear me come on here and complain that they scored 7 if the offense looks good. You can hold me to that. I will play this clip if I go against what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, I think you already have the prime comparison. And as I was coming up with this question in my own head, I was like, oh, what number do they have to get to? And then kind of had the thought of, or do they just have to look about how they did against the Rush? And you have how they looked against San Diego, where they scored 9 goals, and how they looked against the Rush, where you scored 8 goals. I think against San Diego, they looked horrible, and they were lucky to escape with that. And yes, the offense came together finally in the 4th quarter, but it took that long for them to really look good. Before that, they were dropping passes. Everything was sloppy. They looked horrible. Against the Rush, they looked much, much better, but you even scored one less goal. But I think we would both say that they had a much better offensive performance. And yes, it still took until the very end for them to get going. Even Priolo's mentioned a few times in his podcast. I don't know why it takes them so long to get going, but it does sometimes. But I think their opportunities looked much better against the Rush, and they were beating the Rush, who have a better defense and a better goalie currently than what San Diego was able to provide. So for them to have the opportunities that they did against the Rush, it makes you feel better, even though the goals were even one less than San Diego. The San Diego game just looked rough. So I agree with you. If they can put great chances on the net, and Christian Del Bianco is just coming up with great save after great save, it is what it is. I mean, the Rush had a lot of really good opportunities against Buffalo, and Matt Vince was there to shut them down every single time. So just because you have a great, or a low scoring game, doesn't mean that the offense necessarily looked bad. So to me, I'll agree with you. I think if they get to somewhere around 7 goals but look really good, and maybe we get some Joey Rez good opportunities instead of the last goal of the game or some ridiculous offhand shot, I feel like he still hasn't broken out in the way I want him to. And I know, like we've talked a lot about, like Nielsen goes to a different team. Once he's the main man, he gets a few more goals. This is kind of the same thing with Joey Rez right now. He's no longer the main guy on this team. So he's turned himself into more of a grinder, but I'd like to see more of, like you said, the 2-man game, the pick and rolls. Like, he has the ability to get inside. He has the ability to shoot outside. I feel like they still need to build that chemistry with him to get him more clear looks. I'm happy with the 7 shots on goal, but I don't remember all that many of them being like, wow, what a great chance. Like, you remember that game, and you remember Scanlon's, 16 breakaways where he's just one-on-one right in front of the goalie. Like, those stick out to you. Yes, he only scored, I think, 1 last game, but the opportunities he had stick out, whereas the Joey Rez opportunities, other than the ridiculous, amazing game-winning goal, they don't really stick out to, like when I saw he got 7 shots on goal, I was like, I don't remember any of those shots except maybe 1 or 2. So I think they still need to find a way to integrate him more into the offense, which goes back to you saying you need the 7 forwards out there the rest of the season, and they need to continue to gel the rest of the way.
So, Phil, if you want to know more about Vancouver, just listen to the interview with Tino Farrow. Again, that's what we're doing this season. Is the interview is more about the talking points of Vancouver. We're more talking about Buffalo Bandits action. Phil, is Buffalo getting wins 6 in a row, or are they dropping this one? Because according to the BSC picks, you got Buffalo, people got Buffalo at 55%. I'm the only one that took Vancouver. So are you hedging your bet here, or you're sticking with your guns?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I did want to hedge on the show. I took them in the picks. I took Buffalo, but I realistically feel like Vancouver's going to get the win. But I'll stick with Buffalo. They're hot, probably a little too hot, like you said, possibly getting 6 in a row. They're winning the low-scoring games. Hopefully they score more goals the earlier part of the game and don't wait until the 4th quarter. But I'll give Buffalo another very hard-fought, low-scoring, what's it been, 9-8 and 8-7. Man, I could just see that.
7-6.
I was going to say I could see exactly that happening all over again.
Yes. Kind of got to do it for the
Sure, we'll go 7-6. We'll keep it real low.
Win. Why
real
not?
low.
Why not? We're rarely ever right with this stuff anyways. I got them still losing. I'm not hedging. 11-9 win. I think the offense is going to look good, and I think a lot of those, I should say, some of those 9 are going to come before the final 5 minutes of the game.
Good.
But again, they can't keep playing with fire here. You're going to get burned. And they've put themselves in a position where even if you lose this game, you're still in a very good position. So I picked them to lose both games versus Vancouver in my optimistic, pessimistic, and realistic game that you created a couple months ago. I'm sticking to it. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong, because I think I've picked them to lose. Picked them to lose last week. They won. Picked them to lose against Colorado. They won. Picked them to lose against Saskatchewan. They won. So, yeah, more times than not, when I pick them to lose now, they win. So you're welcome, Banditland. Milestone Minute, fastest milestone minute in all the land. All these possible milestones can be found on X and Blue Sky Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each and every game. So if you missed one and you don't want to listen back, you can check for them there. We got 11 this week. Phil, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Cal Buchanan is 3 points away from 700 for his career. Mike McCannell is 6 loose balls away from 200 for his career. If Paul Dawson plays on Saturday, it will be his 300th NLL game. He will just be the 4th player in NLL history to reach that mark. Dane Smith is 9 assists away from tying Sean Evans for 4th place in NLL history. Toka Nanakok is 2 goals away from tying Chris Kluche for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 4 goals away from tying Mark Stainhouse for 2nd place in Buffalo Bandits history. Kyle Buchanan is 2 assists away from tying Chris Kluche for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is still 2 cause turnover away from tying Kevin Brown now for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history. For the 16th time, Josh Byrne is 1 cause turnover away from tying David Brock for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 3 assists away from tying Sean Evans for 10th place in a single Buffalo Bandits season. He's 5 away from tying himself for 8th, 7 away from tying himself for 7th. If that sounded familiar, this will too. Josh Byrne is 2 assists away from tying Sean Evans for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He's 4 away from tying Dane Smith for 8th, and 6 away from tying Dane Smith for 7th.
53 seconds.
Bam! I'm so good. I don't think I've gone over once this year, and if I have, I don't care.
OTCB was talking about Rookie of the Year, just talking about how CJ Kirst is doing, and they were bragging about his 16 cause turnovers for a forward, and I was like, PK is just trying to get 1, maybe
1.
2, and he can't get them. And this rookie over here's got 16 as a forward, and PK is just trying to wait the whole season for 2 from Byrne and then 3 from Smith, because like you said, after they get the 1, it just ties them, and it's still a part of this. And then Dane Smith, once you pass Mark Stainhouse, you got a big hill to climb after that.
So I insulted Josh Byrne last week by calling him a string bean, hoping that would work.
Yeah, it didn't work.
You're not a string bean anymore. You're half a string bean. Maybe that'll work.
I don't know. I was trying to think of what half a string bean would be, or if there's like a smaller bean than a string bean.
Oh, we're getting to that. We got 2 games left, man. Like, he's half a string bean right now. Come at me,
Sabres
bro. Get a cause turnover,
1-0.
please. For the love of God, I want to check it off. Week 19 outlook. Only 4 other games. Friday, 9 p.m., the standalone game. 7-7 Vegas, 10-5 Colorado. We all have Colorado. People have Colorado 75%. Bandits fans, though, are rooting for Vegas. Phil, quickly, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think honestly it's going to be a really good game. Could be a potential playoff matchup, which a few of these might be. Mainly that one. Could be a fun one, though. I think it's going to be a great challenge for Vegas. I think the whole year's been a bit of a challenge for Vegas, but they're still fighting for their playoff lives. Colorado's still trying to solidify their seeding, so both teams have a lot at stake in this game, and it's going to be, I think, a really good one, especially to see how Vegas matches up against a good team like Colorado.
Ditto. Saturday, 6 p.m., 6-8 Rochester, 6-9 Halifax. Both of these teams' seasons are on the line, even though I already buried Halifax. You took Halifax. I took Halifax. People took Halifax at 58%. Bandits fans, you are rooting for Halifax because if Buffalo beats Vancouver and Halifax beats Rochester, you're in the playoffs once again.
Yeah, this one is kind of depressing for Rochester. If they lose this and they are another season either out of playoffs or just having another down year for the roster they have every single year they start the season, we look at their roster like, wow, they're stacked. They're going to go really far this year. And then they do this. So I think between Halifax and Rochester, they're both pretty down seasons and not what you're looking for. But it'll be interesting to see which team wants it more.
I'm interested to see. They got to go Hutchcraft again, right? Rochester?
Yes, I would believe so.
They already made sweeping changes on the coaching staff. Nothing seems to be working there. You finally win last week, but I could see sweeping changes across this line. They haven't gotten any goalie help, and they haven't gotten any defensive help. Saturday, 7 p.m., 6-8 San Diego, 9-6 Toronto. You took Toronto. I took Toronto. The coin of the people's picks got San Diego, though, at 50%. I had to go to the coin for this one. Phil, what are your thoughts on this one? You're rooting for San Diego, though.
Yeah, we'll see Troy Holochuk get the start most likely, because why not? Why not throw him back out there? Give him the start.
Sawyer!
Nick Rose could just take a seat. Your number one goalie doesn't need to play. This is going to be another interesting one. Obviously, a lot of seeding on the line, a lot of playoff implications on the line. So Toronto needs a big bounce back. They were cruising. They had everybody talking about how great they were, and then they dropped it to Philly, who was playing their second game in the weekend. Buffalo knows what it feels like to drop a embarrassing game to Philly, so it'll be really interesting to see how Toronto responds. San Diego's got to go all the way east from the west. I think it's going to be really tough for them, but like we said a few times already, playoff hopes are on the line for San Diego, so we'll see if they can show up and get the upset.
Yeah, if Vegas wins and San Diego drops this one, that last week is going to be even that more important. Like, San Diego can't drop this game. The last game of the weekend, the battle of the two teams that don't have their own first-round draft picks. 4-11 Oshawa, 4-11 Calgary. You took Calgary, I took Oshawa. The people took Oshawa with the coin. I guess you're rooting for Calgary to boost their draft odds so Toronto doesn't get the earlier pick, because Ottawa has Oshawa's pick. Toronto has Calgary's pick. It's a battle of the two basement dwellers that really nothing matters beyond pushing the teams that have your draft pick further down the draft order. Like, what else am I supposed to say about this matchup? It's going to be a good game, but it's like a nothing burger, like, according to like the standings.
Yeah, it's where the Sabres used to be a long time ago.
Sabres are tied 1-1, by the way. Dylan Cousins' old friend, tied it up.
Gosh darn it. Yeah, this game, I honestly, a lot of people have said, and I agree with that, Calgary is a team absolutely on the rise.
So excited.
And they look great, and I feel like they've been in a lot of games. I feel like Oshawa, the other hand, has no real look, shape, form. I don't know what that team is right now. They're very similar to Rochester. A ton of talent on that team, and for some reason they can't make that engine go. It's got blown out pretty recently, so I think Calgary's going to take this one in Calgary. Oshawa's got to come to them, and Calgary's been a really tough out for teams this year. Like we said, they would be all the way back at the start of the season.
So we got 5 games on the docket this weekend. I sadly will not be in attendance. It was my week to be up in the box, but Phil has graciously taken that responsibility, so I will get the following game versus Rochester to close out our coverage of the regular season up in the box. So thank you for that, Phil. But I will not be even able. I'm hoping I'm home in time for we've got Easter Saturday, Phil, on a Bandits game. Like, what the heck, guys? Don't you understand my responsibilities here? So I will not be looking at my phone until I'm back home, and I'll probably got to catch up to the game. So do not DM us during the game. I will not see it. I will not respond. And if you spoil this game, I'm gonna kick you in the foot, just like a softball.
And then the keister. PK. It's always interesting when we're in the group chat with all of our friends talking Bandits, and then PK just disappears all of a sudden for a long time. I'm like, oh, for some reason he must be behind. And then about an hour after the game, I'll see him catch up and start responding. I'm like, oh, there he is.
Go into hiding. I'm in like fear bunker of just behind, trying not to get spoiled. But on our next show on Monday, we got 2 Sabres games to talk about. This one currently going on right now, and it's 1-1 with little time left in the second period. We got Bandits versus Vancouver, and 4 other games across the NLL. So with that, we're going to wrap this one up, Phil. Have a fun time up in the box. I will have a fun time. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Hopefully I'm back in front of my TV in time. Thanks a lot, family. God. I'm so sad. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website, Buffalo Sports Collective. All our interviews, articles, episodes, whatever you want to see is there. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you leave us that review on Apple and Spotify. Remember, Bandits can clinch playoffs this week. Until next time, bye-bye.